Hello, everybody. Just gonna wait 2 to 3 more minutes until we're gonna get started, but welcome to our webinar. Just bear with us a few more minutes until a few more people join. But yeah, welcome. We need elevator waiting room music for this, because otherwise you're just stuck with me for now. So yeah, guys, I'll be back in 2 minutes, then we're gonna get started, all right? Hello, everybody. Chris Leininger here, founder of Epic Expeditions. Good to see everybody on this fine Saturday. Thanks for taking the time to be here. So it's going to be me primarily leading this call for the next hour. We do have the director of Epic Expeditions also on this call, Ralph Cope, and he is going to be sort of managing the chat. And feel free to drop any questions you want answered at the end of this webinar in the chat that we have going. But yeah, I'm not going to be speaking directly to questions until the very end of this. But as I go through the various topics, feel free to note anything you want me to go over. It's not going to be an unlimited amount of Q&A time, but yeah, we'll do our best to get it all in there. So, yeah, we got a pretty good number of people on the call. I say we get right into it. So for those of you who just joined us, I'll introduce myself one more time. My name is Chris Leininger, founder of Epic Expeditions, and you are tuning into our K2 Basecamp Trek preparation webinar. So you're stuck with me, guys, for the next hour. Let's get into it. So during the next hour, this is what we're going to be going over. You're going to learn a little bit about us. You're going to get a quick overview of the trek and Gondogoro Law. And really the sort of pinnacle topic of this webinar is going to be fitness and training, and then going over the gear stuff. A little bit about daily life along the trek, and then we will handle your questions. So let's go. For those of you who are not familiar with Epic Expeditions, we got our start in Pakistan and in 2018. So 2026 marks our 9th season working in Pakistan. And Pakistan, it still is, I would consider, our specialty, even though now we are working across 4 different continents in 15 different countries and counting, soon to be more. So yeah, we specialize in these sort of unique remote destinations. We are also, doing things in Mongolia and South America, various parts of Central Asia as well. But Pakistan is super special for me personally and for the company director, Ralph. We kind of came up in Pakistan, and over the years we have just developed some incredible partnerships there. We have our own company in Pakistan. So whereas Epic Expeditions is an American company, we also have our own Pakistani company of the same name. So that our entire team there is people we've been working with for years, and we do everything in-house. So that's a little bit about us. So for those of you who are sort of never been to Pakistan and have heard about K2 and the Karakoram range, where is K2? So Pakistan is a massive country, and the Karakoram range is a sub-range of the Himalaya. So the Himalayan range is made up of sort of the Himalayan range proper, the Hindu Kush range, and the Karakoram range. And within the Karakoram range in Pakistan, there are 5 of the 14 highest mountains in the world, 4 of which you see on this trek. And well, actually 5, if the weather's clear for the flight from Islamabad to Skardu, you see the 5th, which is Nanga Parbat. But yeah, basically there are no permanent settlements or roads or anything to get out to K2, which makes it extra challenging and remote, and just, yeah, one of the most dramatic sort of mountain landscapes you can visit anywhere on Earth, and one of the main reasons why we love it. And yeah, also the majority of this trek takes place in Central Karakoram National Park, kind of on the border with China. So China is on the north side of K2. What makes this trek special? Well, I could probably do an entire webinar on what makes this trek special, but basically, for 2 weeks, you are out in a truly wild place for a full expedition style sort of camping trek. There are no tea houses, there are no permanent villages, and we are out there in the mountains. I like to equate it to maybe being 30 years behind Nepal, in the sense that it's just not commercialized at all in the same way Nepal is. Like, I love Nepal. I personally, I think maybe I've been to Nepal 10 times. We also lead trips there, but it's really a different thing in Pakistan. And the magic that we have come to appreciate so much about Pakistan is honestly like a big part related to the fact that it's not commercialized. So it's a really wild environment. It's walking along some of the longest glacial systems outside of the polar regions on Earth. And it's just, all of those things come together to make it super special indeed. So guys, this coming section is going to be the focus of this whole webinar, basically. We put a lot of time and energy thinking about these things for all of our trips. And because you're here, you also want to be thinking about those things. So I guess to start with, I'll say that whether you've been, climbing, trekking, doing big adventures for the last 30 years, or you're relatively new to this sort of thing, like maybe you've done a trek in Nepal or in Peru or something, I think that the message here, it has something for everybody. So I'm not going to get like super granular, basic level stuff, but like what I'm going to go into can be applied not just for the K2 trek, but for kind of any multi-day big trip. But yeah, specifically what I'm going to cover, we've found really works for people. So yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, I think understanding how difficult this trek is. So over the course of 2 weeks, you are basically walking pretty much every day with a few rest days sprinkled in there. The total distance depends on the exact route, but let's say it's roughly 160 kilometers or 100 miles. And the daily trekking amount sort of depends, but some days it's 5 hours, some days it's 8 hours. But it's never a great path in the sense that like it's not just like a perfect, well-maintained path all the time. So that adds difficulty, as does the many days at altitude, camping every night, topped off with Gondogoro Law, which is, in my opinion, the hardest day of the whole trip. So if I had to rate this trip on a scale of 1 to 10 for difficulty, I'd say it falls into for the average person, 7 or 8 category. It's not a Sunday stroll in your local park, to be sure, but it's also, with the right preparation, thus the point of this call, it is very attainable to get yourself ready for what's coming for you. So I guess this goes without saying, but the K2 Basecamp trek should not be your first ever trek. If it is, then you have time to go get some experience like immediately. But yeah, the ideal kind of candidate for this trip has done some multi-day trekking before, ideally spent some time at altitude before, though that's not entirely a requirement. And just generally be interested in the culture of Pakistan and really the raw adventure of this trip. This trip is a social sort of program. Of course, you have time to hike your own hike, as I say, and have plenty of sort of solo time. But at the end of the day, it is a team-oriented trip. So you need to bring a bit of a social mindset and start preparing now, really, for discomfort. I mean, with any big adventure, it's important to be mentally tough. This is also going to be a theme of today. But yeah, being mentally resilient, comfortable, being uncomfortable, that is the kind of person that will be successful on this trip. So we've broken down the sort of total preparation for this trip into 3 categories. That's physical, mental, and the gear. As I said before, like this training program and like this whole webinar is focused around the K2 trek, but this sort of this concept of training for this trek, yes, but also just training for life. Like the goal for everybody really should be wanting to play the long game of doing adventures and of life. So that means that we are always sort of working and training toward maintaining just a general fitness and keeping ourselves kind of ready also for whatever life throws at us. And really the preparation for something like K2 starts with doing anything in your life that is hard. So even if that's not physical, like if it's doing your taxes or it's doing a like a difficult gardening task or something, whatever it is that is difficult, it's actually really good for us to do hard things because it sets the stage for all of the challenges that life throws at us, not just when we're on holiday trekking, but like, yeah, just in general. The more we train for endurance, the more we're able to endure, right? So these might sound a bit like cliches, but they're really true. And this is part of a mindset that I have and that we want to bestow upon people who come with us, that basically like the work starts up here, all of the training and the preparation, solid mind, solid body equals a solid adventure experience. And just the last little point there, squaring away and testing your gear, super important. We're going to talk about gear in a little bit, but this is how we encourage you to approach your preparation for this trek: physical, mental, and thinking about your gear. So I'm going to have a sip of coffee here. Please feel free to, any coffee drinkers in the house? Oh yeah, that's the stuff. So physical preparation, guys, you should be preparing basically now for the summer season that's coming, but an ideal window to prepare is 2 to 3 months in advance. And I think if you're a bit intimidated on getting started, really, the only way to start preparing is just like jumping right into it. But here are some of the things that we recommend for, these are some of the things that we recommend to start with. On the next slide, you will see we're going to go into a training regimen, but just in general, the things that you should be thinking about are going for hikes where you have your backpack on, you're carrying weight, you are doing stair training for sustained elevation gain. You are doing back-to-back long hiking days to build endurance, not speed. Really, the training for endurance is key. Injury prevention is a big one that I must emphasize that, like, of course, we're training for injury prevention along the trip, but sorry guys, 1 second. Can everybody see the slides that I'm showing right now? Just checking. Yeah, all good. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so when I say injury prevention in this context, more I'm speaking about the things that you are doing in the lead up to the trek. So without fail, every year we get an email 2 or 3 weeks out that somebody has, had an injury mountain biking or something, or they were trail running and they fell and broke their hand and they can't come. So I want you to continue doing what you enjoy doing in terms of physical activities, sport, whatever, but you need to be smart about it as the time draws sooner. So that means probably not going out mountain biking, probably not trail running in the rain on a super steep, muddy, dangerous path like a week out, or even 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out. Because if you suffer a big injury in the weeks before the trip starts, then you obviously can't join. So I want to put that on everybody's radar to really take care of yourself in the coming months, and especially as the trip draws nearer. You need to keep training, but yeah, just be mindful about the type of activities. Maybe no bare knuckle boxing competitions with your friends. That's a good place to start. I do encourage you guys also to like log your process either on your phone or in a notebook. Like write down what you do. Like keep yourself accountable. Turn this into a fun new project for yourself, where you are really dialed into your training and keeping track of what you're doing. And my last point, again, you're going to hear me say it a few times, like become accustomed to doing hard things. The K2 trek is going to be hard at times, and that's fine. A lot of people are so much more capable than what they think of. And I think stepping out of the comfort zone for a lot of people is tough, but that can start at home, that can start now, so that when you arrive in Pakistan and you get out there and you're trekking every day, like you've already been doing hard stuff. And like a majority of you have already been doing hard stuff for your whole life, right? So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind as you train, and every little thing you do in the training is hardening you up a little bit and will prepare you for success again on the trek. So this is like a typical training week, something that I do in my sort of quote unquote civilian life, or some version of that. So again, you might already have your training program, right? Like feel free to take a screenshot of this. We also have an article on our blog, on our website, where we go over various training programs and things. But there is really no way to get yourself in trail shape completely other than, you guessed it, hitting the trails. So that doesn't really, that also doesn't really matter like where you live. You could live, you know, on the flat plains of Victoria in Australia, and there's still places around you to be going for walks and hikes. Even if you don't have mountains around you, or you don't have any hiking paths, you still need to be doing some form of walking. Ideally, you're hiking in a place that has incline, but just doing your like little neighborhood, you know, 1 or 2 kilometer walk a day is not going to cut it for this. Like, you need to set some bigger goals to get in the habit of walking often. And then what you can do in the gym to compound those things is like basically a full body strength and cardio program, anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week. It's important to give yourself rest days mixed in there, but common sense stuff. You want to focus on your legs, your core, your back, your cardio. So yeah, these are some suggestions as well. Like, if you start doing some like a new training regimen now, say in 2 or 3 weeks, you start increasing the weight. There is a ton of information on YouTube. If you've like never been a gym person, or you want to learn how to train specifically for treks, there's like, and you're just not familiar with different exercises, or there's a lot of videos and resources out there to show you what to do. You can also consider getting a personal trainer to get you going. But I do think that a hybrid training program of like actually hiking and walking combined with the gym is the way to go. And I think this approach is underestimated generally with trekking. And from our position, if you follow these steps, you're going to show up ready to go. So again, we can like, if you want to take a screenshot of this is just a little example. We also have the blog on our website. You can also email us if you'd like a more detailed sort of plan. I'm always happy to jump on a call as well and talk about stuff. Right, another sip of coffee time. This is going to get me in the right space to talk about the mental game. So half of the preparation and sort of experience of the K2 Basecamp trek is the mental game. The battles of life really are fought and won here, guys. And real adventure does come with curveballs. We need to be adaptable. You know, the weather gets tough, you're tired. The sun is beating down on you. You know, we're out there for multiple days. Like, all of this stuff wears on your mental state, right? So I think, you know, preparing for that mentally, having your expectations around the difficulty, around the sort of curveballs, and coming into it with an open mind, so that, you know, in the inevitable event that something changes, we have to change up the itinerary, it's an exceptionally hot day, it snows, whatever, you know, that we're building like, we're like building in the flexibility kind of preloaded into our heads before we even get out there. And also just like knowing in advance that, like, you know, you have to kind of prepare yourself for the fatigue of it all mentally. I have a point in here about, you know, life without Wi-Fi, no distractions. So this is one of my favorite aspects of doing epic trips. Like, for the last 9 years, I love my block of time when I'm out leading a trip and there's no Wi-Fi, and no distractions. But that can also be a mental challenge in its own way when you do feel disconnected, when you do feel far from your family or your friends. But it's something to prepare for, and honestly, something to fully embrace. You know, like, we are bombarded with content, with news, with our phone constantly going off. And like, there's actually quite a few scientific studies now about like what, like the brain chemistry and how it changes when you go a week, 2 weeks without the internet, without social media. I'm all about it. It's very good for us. Fully embrace that. And kind of also you need to be thinking about, yep, I'm going offline. I am, try to like tie up your loose ends and everything before you leave home so that you can like go offline in peace and just, be very present with yourself and with your mountains. Sorry, with the mountains, they're not your mountains, they're the mountains. But yeah, your mindset really matters as much as your fitness, and like stupid little image that I say, that I think of is like doing mental push-ups, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. It's all connected, right? And I think to best prepare for this trip, it's like you need to also put in the effort to your mentality around, well, doing hard things, fitness, hiking, being around people, being in a remote environment. Like all of these things are moving parts that work together. So just some things to be thinking about. The gear, guys, this is a very important topic, obviously. And I'm not going to go into minute detail here because actually I recorded I think it's about 25-minute YouTube video where I break down all of the gear that I use. So if you're not familiar with that, please ask us, maybe Ralph, if you can find it and put it in the group chat. But yeah, also, if you have any specific questions about gear, feel free to drop it in the chat. But yeah, these are the things that I want to talk about because they're super important. I could also probably do a whole webinar on gear and also just about layering systems because I think learning how to use layers is really an art form. But basically, you want to plan your day and organize your bag to where you're not like constantly taking your layers on and off, and you want clothing that is versatile, right? That serves multiple purposes. I think Ralph just dropped the packing list YouTube video there. So you need to think pretty carefully about your layers and your layering systems. A very important thing that you'll be using every night, obviously, is a quality sleeping bag. We recommend having a 0 Fahrenheit or -17 Celsius sleeping bag. That doesn't mean it's going to get that cold, but it definitely will not get that cold. But it will, it could get to -5 at night Celsius. That's like in the mid-20s. It could get, around that cold and possibly snow a bit. And an important thing to check too is like understanding the difference between your limit and comfort rating of your sleeping bag. So if the comfort rating or like the kind of middle end of your sleeping bag rating is 0 Fahrenheit, that's what you want. Obviously, your footwear choice for this trek is huge. Personally, I use a mix of like Hoka trail runners and the higher ankle proper leather hiking boot from Lowa that have a Gore-Tex membrane. I use the trail runners lower down and then switch up to my hiking boots when it's more rocky. This is a personal preference, and I talk about that, I think, in the packing list video. But the very important thing is that you do not show up in Pakistan like having never worn your boots. Like that is a recipe for disaster. And yeah, you will quickly become your trip leader's favorite client, taping up your blisters every single day if you show up with brand new shoes. So, oops, sorry guys. Trekking poles is also something that I highly recommend, even if you're not used to using them. You should bring them. I think that they will really come in handy. For me, I tend to not do a hike anywhere without trekking poles, but even if you're not a trekking pole person, bring them and learn how to use them, employ them, because they will really help you on the uneven sort of rocky terrain. Glacier sunglasses or polarized sunglasses are also non-negotiable. There's a lot of glare, there's a lot of reflection, there's a lot of high UV rays happening at high altitude. So I always suggest carrying 2 pairs of sunglasses in case one breaks or you lose a pair or whatever. Like, have 2 high quality pairs of sunglasses. It's like you wouldn't go skiing without proper sunglasses or even goggles. You don't need goggles for this trip, but do not skimp on the sunglasses. They're super, super important. Sun layers. So maybe a lot of photos and stuff you've seen of this trek are cold weather, like it looks cold. And that's not always the case, though. The first, say, 3 to 4 days of this trek can be pretty hot. Like, I'm talking about, it feels like it's around 30 degrees Celsius or in the high 80s Fahrenheit. That doesn't mean it's actually that temperature, but like with the altitude and the UVs, it can be hot. So be sure to have like thin layers that you can cover up with, and like bringing multiple tubes of lip balm and good quality sunscreen. Like, people underestimate a lot the sun layers and the sorry guys, I'm just seeing some of your questions come in. We'll speak to some of those in a bit. Yeah, don't underestimate the sun. It comes pretty fierce at the beginning of the trip, unless you're lucky and it's cloudy or rainy. That's actually what we want in the first few days. But more often than not, it's clear and sunny and warm. And we do adapt to the timings of the day. For example, when it's super hot, like we might leave early. But yeah, anyway, don't want to get lost in the weeds there. Yeah, women are, it is okay for women to wear shorts. I would say like not super short shorts or a shirt that has like a bunch of cleavage showing. But yeah, I understand that sometimes it's more comfortable wearing shorts. Like, I go back and forth personally. Like, sometimes I don't wear shorts only because I don't want my legs sunburned. But yeah, it's a good question. It's generally okay to wear shorts though. To wrap up here, guys, and for lady specific questions that I was just discussing, some past Epic clients from a few seasons back like came together with me to write an article that has basically essential gear for women for the K2 trek. So maybe Ralph can also drop that in the chat, but you can find that on our blog. So guys, the next section here is about preparing for altitude and Gondogoro Law. Let's get into it. So if some of you have been, say, to Kilimanjaro and did not feel great at the altitude, that's pretty normal. That's because the average itinerary for something like Kili or the Inca Trek or something in Peru is like you are jumping altitude way too quickly to feel good. So the elevation profile along this trek is designed in a way that we are never going up too high too fast. So if you have experienced problems with altitude before, I think that more than likely you'll feel better doing a slower acclimatization program. But for sure, like with the altitude, with the cumulative days, and camping every night, the best way to cope with the altitude is like individually managing your hydration, managing your trail pace, like not going too fast, managing your sleep. Like, all of these things really add up. Nobody is going to feel 100% at altitude. Like, even myself, I spend weeks out of the year at high altitude. And, everybody feels it one degree to another. There's no avoiding it. It's part of the game when you're doing high altitude trekking, but there are ways to feel your best, and like just really basic stuff like drinking enough, eating enough, taking time to rest, going slow. All of those things are huge in like just helping you feel your best every day. I'm going to emphasize again, like the sort of like lip balm and skin management during the trek. Bring more lip balms and sun cream than you think you need, because the UVs are really strong, can be windy. Your skin gets really dry at the high altitude. And yeah, we want everybody to, end the trek not winning the most sunburned of the whole team award. So yeah, I'll keep emphasizing that about like the moisturizer stuff for your lips, really important. A big question sort of in the altitude trekking world is like, do you take Diamox or do you not take Diamox? I do not think that Diamox is necessary for this trip. My experience in Nepal has been that like generally people in Nepal, guides there, tend to just give out Diamox, like they want everybody to take it. I don't really think that's necessary either. The best way to acclimatize and feel your best is really to acclimatize slowly. But I'm also of the opinion that like anything that you take that helps you feel better is fine. So Diamox is really a personal choice. Like personally, I haven't had a great experience with Diamox. Like I just get weird side effects and it doesn't help me. So that's out for me. But what didn't work for me, it might work for you. That's a conversation to have with your doctor, I think, and doing your own research online. But from my personal experience and perspective, it's not needed. So I would encourage you to do your own research and make the call for yourself, knowing that like you should be just fine without it. How to prepare for the altitude if you live or near sea level? Well, that's me as well. I live near the ocean here in Portugal. So the quick answer is there is no way to really prepare for altitude when you live at sea level. And that's okay. You don't have to fixate on acclimatizing before you come. We can't all live in the Rocky Mountains or, be in Nepal or something right before we come to this trek. There are things like hypoxic tents, things you can get for home. This is like really taking it too far. I wouldn't worry about the altitude too much. Yeah, you can get in your head about like, how do I acclimatize before? Like, you really can't. Like, most people can't. Most people do not live at high altitude. You are not alone in that. So just know that like our acclimatization program is pretty slow, and we do take a rest day at 4,000 meters as well. It's enough. So if you live at the beach and can't acclimatize before, no worries. Gondogoro law preparation. So this is a big one as well, guys. I think point number one is understanding what Gondogoro law is. So kind of like any important topic related to this trip, it seems like we also made a YouTube video about this that really goes over what Gondogoro law entails. So if you are kind of unfamiliar with what it is, the short answer is that it's a high altitude mountain pass. So it's around 18,000 feet, 5,600 meters. I said before, it's probably the hardest day of the whole trip. Probably takes us around 10 to 12 hours to complete. Most people who show up to do this trek don't have a ton of experience or any experience with mountaineering, with using crampons. That's okay. But whatever you can do to prepare yourself in advance, like it's highly suggested that you try out your crampons on your boots, make sure they're compatible, and then you go out and walk around somewhere in them. I know it's also tough if you don't live in a place with snow. It might be the case that you go find a grassy hill then and practice. I do suggest looking for like a basic mountaineering or winter skills course in your area. People have reported those being helpful, just to get like a basic foundation of crampon technique and alpine environments. There's also a ton of YouTube and blog resources out there, including on our website, about all of this stuff. So I think it's really important to invest the time in understanding the day of Gondogoro Law, also not overthinking it, also knowing that, as you can see in this photo is showing a training day that we do at Concordia. So every itinerary that we do that includes Gondogoro Law, we take a morning and we practice going up and down a road. And so it won't be your first time wearing crampons on the pass. We found that this is usually enough to get people feeling comfortable enough to do the pass and to, get some solid experience in. We also like teach you basic crampon technique, et cetera, but whatever you can do in advance is only going to benefit you. So do your research, do your due diligence, and if possible, go out and test your crampons like in snow or in steep terrain. If that's not possible, just go find a grassy patch and just spend some time going up and down the slope. And I'm sure you'll get some passersby thinking you've completely lost your mind, cramponing up the grassy slope, but that's okay. The main thing is we want you to get some experience and feel comfortable putting them on your boots, and just walking with them and everything. Okay, guys, a few more sections here. Preparing for daily life on the trek. Here we go. So one of the biggest questions we get are about like, what are the toilets and showers like on this trip? So start by saying that photo that you see there, that's an example of some of the sort of permanent toilets, the drop toilets that are there at camp. Not every campsite has these. I would say like these days, 80% of the campsites along the way have these sort of drop toilets. There's somebody there that in theory should be maintaining them. Sometimes they do a better job than others. Other times when needed, we set up a toilet tent. But yeah, most of the time we actually have the access to these fixed toilets, which is very nice. Every camp pretty much has running water or some sort of a stream, especially the days lower down. It's nice when we get into camp, it's still warm out. You can do a little river shower. It's all good. On the rest day that we do at the Erdekas camp, it's possible to have like a full hot water bucket shower. There's a little kind of a cabin like you see in this photo, but it doesn't have a toilet in it. It's just like dedicated to showers. So we provide that for you on that day. And then as we go up higher, you're sweating less, it's colder. You don't generally feel like you really need a shower after that. And we don't really offer up showers after, the 4,000 meter range. Mostly because it's cold as well, and we don't want you to get sick by being wet when it's cold. But yeah, on the crucial days when it's like hot, and then when we have a rest day, there's always time at camp to kind of clean yourself up and shower, and then have I think it's day 4 or so when we have the rest day. You have a chance for like a proper bucket shower, shampoo, all the things. We do provide you guys with toilet paper. You should bring your own wet wipes and your own little bottle of hand sanitizer. We do have it in the mess tent as well, but it's just good for you to have in your tent to always be using that as well. All right. So food and hydration. Obviously, guys, we have a cook team with us, and they are preparing food for us every day. I'm not going to go too much into the food program right now. I am going to talk about hydration. We ask everybody to bring a water purifying bottle like the one you see there in the photo. It's your responsibility pretty much every day to be purifying and filtering your own water along the way. This is true for every company operating this trek. We're not providing you with bottled water every day, certainly, because there's nowhere to buy it or to bring it in. We do provide you with boiled water at camp, for like your coffee, your tea, or filling your Nalgene bottle at night that you can take in your tent with you. But yeah, for like just your day-to-day drinking water, you will be purifying your own water. We really recommend the Grail bottle that you see there in the video. If you are just like, hey, I've been using my little chlorine tablets forever, I want to use that, or I love my Life Straw, okay. We just know that this bottle really works, and it's what our staff have been using all over the world for nearly a decade, and very important piece of gear. Also, like just stuff for you to bring and like prepare at home is like your electrolyte program. You should be having electrolytes and supplements to keep your salt levels up and your hydration maximized every day. There's a ton of different electrolyte packets and options out there, but definitely everybody should bring some of those. And yeah, while we do give you 3 meals every day, plus snacks, plus other stuff, we really encourage everybody to bring their own snacks, whether that's protein bars or even like just sugary fun stuff like gummy bears, whatever, beef jerky, nuts, chocolate, whatever it is that you like, that is also like is calorie dense, and maybe some sort of a bar that has caffeine in it or something that will help you on a tough day. Yeah, don't skimp on the snacks. There's also excuse me, in Stardew, it's possible to buy Snickers bars or other chocolates like that. So you don't necessarily need to bring that sort of stuff from home, but things that you can't get in Pakistan, like energy gels, energy gummies, high-end protein bars. This stuff you will not find. Like just basic stuff you can find in Pakistan in terms of the snacks. But yeah, we give you a lot of really good food options, but we just ask you to bring your own electrolytes and snacks to make sure that you always have enough things in your day pack during the day to keep you going. And crucially, just stuff that you like, stuff that you've tested, stuff that you like to eat, because also your appetite will go down at high altitude. So it's important that you choose flavors that you like of all the things, and be planning on drinking more water than you would at home to feel your best at altitude. So guys, the weather conditions, this is toward the end of our presentation here. So this is the last slide more or less before we will go into like our final thoughts summary. So the weather, as I've mentioned before, from June to August, really from May until August now, this is a trek where you will have all 4 seasons along the way. So it can be quite warm early on, and it can get, as I mentioned, anywhere from feeling like 30 degrees Celsius to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And then at the cold end of the spectrum, like the coldest temperature I think I've ever had along the trek, maybe around like -10 Celsius, or in the 22 degree range Fahrenheit. I would say that's quite uncommon to have it be that cold. Like even at Concordia, even at K2 base camp, it's maybe around freezing every night, like 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius, but not much colder than that. And it can go up and down, but I emphasize the heat because I think it does take people off guard. how it can be warm earlier on. So another way that you can prepare for managing the heat is like to go out and hike or walk when it's hot outside. Like start preparing yourself. Like heat acclimatization is absolutely a real thing. So yeah, if you have the opportunity and access to warm temperatures wherever you live, look for the hottest part of the day and go hike in it. I think it will help you in the long run. It also gives you a chance to test your gear, see what you like, and try to dial in your own sort of gear system for that. And then of course it could rain, it could snow. So this is a trek to like prepare for all the seasons. But it's never too extreme cold, like in my opinion. I've certainly been on other climbing expeditions or even other trips of ours where it gets colder than the K2 base camp trek. So probably similar to say the Everest base camp trek in terms of like cold, but I think the heat is more intense on say days 1 through 3. So it's really something to prepare your gear around, and also like, yeah, just like mentally preparing for a wide range of temperatures along the way here. So guys, final thoughts. We have been going for almost an hour now, and yeah, that is like the quick version of all of our suggestions for you to have an understanding of how to prepare properly for this trek. So to this day, the K2 base camp trek remains one of my absolute favorite trips we run, and it's something I really look forward to every year. Whether you're signed up for it with us already or you're considering going there this year or eventually, absolutely do it. It is an amazing trip, unlike anything else that you will probably do in life. The juice is worth the squeeze in this case, where like the more that you prepare for this trip, though, like, you know, it's everybody's individual responsibility to prepare as much as you can, and you will just get the most out of the experience the more that you put into it. So guys, with that, thank you for listening to me going over all this stuff for the last hour. I hope you found it helpful, and let's get into some of your questions here. So I have not been looking at any of the questions yet, because otherwise I was going to get derailed. So I'm going to let Ralph share some of the questions with me, and then I will speak to as many as I can here. I'm just going to start off by, just give me 1 second here, guys. Let me read some of these questions here. Yeah, I'm just going to start off this Q&A by quickly speaking to the U.S., Iran, Middle East war situation. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about our position around it right now, or like the thought process into our sort of risk assessment stuff, because that's also another topic I could do an entire webinar on. But I will say that for now, our trips are still going ahead as planned, and we are keeping a close eye on the situation. We will be especially if you're signed up with us, for now, we'll be addressing that in an email soon. But basically, we are just urging people to stay patient, and we have adopted a sort of wait and see attitude in terms of how things develop. But I'll just leave it there. I'm not going to answer any specific questions about different scenarios in that case right now. I think somebody asked about our refund policy. So when it comes to this current situation and this trip, like we're going to be as flexible as possible. We're also going to try to give people as much reasonable notice as possible. So we plan, if like, you know, worst case scenario, we can't run the trip. everybody's payment will be fully protected for a future trip. So I'll just leave it there. But yeah, we understand this is a unique circumstance, and on our end, we're going to do our best to be as flexible as possible. Okay, more questions. Has the visa process been affected by recent events? No, it has not at all. It still takes 4 to 7 weeks, more or less, to get approval, but that is in the best of times. So even right now, it's not known. With the current news, it's happening completely unaffected. Some of you have already started the visa process, for those of you who have like earlier trips in the season, and we intend to also start the remaining visa applications in the coming weeks. So if you're signed up with us, please stay tuned. In the coming weeks, we'll be in touch about all of this stuff. Okay, how does the K2 trek compare to other popular treks around the world? Well, I just find like, and the question is Kilimanjaro, Manaslu Circuit, Annapurna, EBC. So on one hand, there are similarities with the altitude, a bit with the landscape, a bit with the physical difficulty. But I think that's where the similarities end, honestly. Like, I think the K2 tends to be a level above, a bit in the difficult category. One, because you're camping every night. You don't have like the apple pie and espresso vibe of the tea house every night, or like the movie theater or the Irish pub. Like, all of these things also allow you to sort of relax, and like, you might have a really hard day along the Everest Base Camp trek, but then the level of comfort you have at night, is makes the EBC trek a fair bit easier, in my opinion. That's not to say the EBC trek is easy or the Annapurna circuit is easy. Again, anything when you're hiking above 5,000 meters is going to be challenging, right? So let's say the Everest Base Camp trek is a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. I'm going to rate the K2 an 8 out of 10. And this is like just compared to treks. This isn't like putting in, mountaineering expeditions or something. I'm not comparing it to that. So it is a bit more challenging, but again, like, I think is related to Kilimanjaro. Like, people really find Kili difficult because of how fast you go up and how quickly you're thrust into the altitude. So that makes Kilimanjaro really hard. So if you had a slower acclimatization process, you might have found Kili easier. Yeah, I see the comment. EBC is not that comfortable. Well, in Namche Bazaar, it is very comfortable, for sure. At Kalapatar, around there, it's very basic tea houses and it's cold. But yeah, my reference point is, if you can go to get a cinnamon roll and then a pint of locally brewed beer and then play pool, that's a different level of comfort than what you'll experience on the Baltoro. Okay, guys. I already talked about the appropriate dress for women. Yeah, shorter sleeves is okay. Again, just nothing with like an open cleavage situation. Maybe not super short shorts as well. It's not like, it's more like the out of respect as well for the porters and our local staff. Not that like you wearing shorts is going to be disrespectful, but like, it's something culturally they're not used to seeing, right? So I think it's finding a balance of you being comfortable. Like, we don't want you, if you're just like really all about shorts, we want you to be comfortable, but maybe like be smart about the type of shorts that you get. Like, shorts that like don't, barely cover your bum and are super tight and revealing. Maybe not those, maybe not the best choice for Pakistan. But like normal shorts and like a short sleeve shirt, absolutely fine. No worries. All right, next question. Is the global glacial shrinking trend a significant factor when we do the trek. Not really for us doing the trek. I'd say the only point of concern can be that it's more like landslides that can happen or small bridges that can get taken out like on the road to get out there, which can delay us. There's always a way to go around or something, but along the trek, it's not a big deal. I would say it's more just like because the road to get out there is also an adventure up, unto itself, which is very susceptible to not so much the glacial melt, but like just the hotter temperatures and conditions that we're having every year. The roads can be affected, but it's never meant we can't go. It just means that it delays us, and we have to take an extra hour or two to walk around or change the Jeeps or whatever. How prevalent is food poisoning, and what do we do to mitigate it? Food poisoning is like real food poisoning is one thing, I would say. Real food poisoning entails very acute symptoms of like vomiting and diarrhea for like 8 or 9 hours straight. You're totally spent, you have nothing left, and then you're done. Versus like an upset stomach or even like the occasional diarrhea or something. Like real food poisoning, I would say, is pretty rare along the trek. Like our staff is pretty well trained in like hygiene practices, and it's something that myself and our management in Pakistan that we like have really worked hard on over the years, for trying to like keep the food situation as clean as possible in an extremely remote and rugged environment. I think it's a combination of factors as well. Like people can get upset stomachs because of the heat, because of the altitude, because of the physical exertion, also because of like the new foods, like spices and things that you might be not used to. Generally, I would say our chefs try to like make the food gringo acceptable. Like they're not giving you like fire Pakistani chilies every single meal or anything. They understand that we don't want like super spicy food all the time. But yeah, people can get upset stomachs. What to do to mitigate it? I mean, you could bring like some stomach medic, like Pepto-Bismol, antacid stuff to help you. But I think it's something to kind of accept that at some stage you might have like your stomach being a little upset or unhappy. Getting proper food poisoning, again, would be pretty uncommon. So all of the, like most of the foods, I would say anyway, in terms of our food program are like whole foods, like we're having potatoes, we're having pasta, we're having rice, we're having vegetables, fruits. It's not like we're having like ultra processed, ultra spiced food all the time. So yeah, that's kind of what I can say about if you have like a sensitive stomach, maybe bring some sort of stuff to deal with upset stomach, like some medicines. But I wouldn't come in being like terrified you're going to get sick. It does happen, but it's usually not debilitating. So, is it possible to find Diamox in Pakistan? Sometimes it is. You don't need a prescription. Sometimes it isn't. I would bring your own. Who is the most medically qualified on trips and responsible for first aid? That's usually your epic trip leader. Like if you're on my trip, for example, it will be me. All of our trip leaders have like a basic, wilderness first aid training, but we're not doctors either. We're not surgeons or doctors, but typically we deal with a lot of the same injuries and ailments over the years. So like for sure we can treat like basic stuff and anything that would like anything that's serious, say a broken ankle as an example, that has never happened on any of our trips anywhere. But for example, if something like that happened, obviously we can stabilize you, but then it's that would be the helicopter express out. So things that we can deal with locally, your trip leader is generally equipped with like a pretty massive first aid kit and knowledge of how to treat superficial wounds, blisters, a variety of different illnesses as well that we see out there. But within reason, again, not doctors, pretty confident and comfortable treating the types of, kind of classic trekking injuries and ailments we see out there. But yeah, anything serious, we call the helicopter. Got some other questions for me? Let's see. I'm gonna wait for my comment manager, Ralph, to send me some more questions because the chat is going too fast for me to see them. How do hiking boots compare to hiking shoes? So I like having hiking, like I like having trail running shoes again, like toward the start of the trip because they're lighter, they're cooler, and they tend to have a lot of nice grip. But then I switched to like a hiking boot that has a Gore-Tex membrane. The difference between hiking shoe and a boot really is like the support and like the quality of waterproofing. So if you have a lower cut shoe that is like a bit thinner, that isn't maybe made of leather, it's not as sturdy, for sure it's not going to have the same level of support. You're going to feel the rocks more probably as well, and it's not going to be as waterproof. So yeah, that's the main difference. I do suggest both options, like getting a trail runner for the early days and a proper hiking boot. You can see our suggestion in the packing list. I use a boot called the Lowa Renegade GTX. That is a boot that I think I've purchased maybe 10 times in the last years. I just keep buying it because it's a great boot. But yeah, that's the breakdown of the boot to shoe question. What is the standard evacuation plan at high altitude? Well, the short answer of this question is that it really depends on the scenario. But like, let's paint a hypothetical picture. If somebody had a rolled ankle, a broken ankle, again, never happened, or I'll just describe something that has happened in the past. So we got somebody who had kind of like a combination ear and coughing infection thing started. They started a round of antibiotics. It didn't really help. This was at K2 Base Camp. We came back to Concordia. They weren't improving. So we made the call to get them a rescue, heli rescue. So why do we recommend an insurance company like Global Rescue? It's because they have the one and only kind of company, the service in Pakistan that manages the heli rescues. They have them on retainer. So basically, in the event that we need to call to initiate a heli rescue, your trip leader is equipped with a sat phone and a Garmin InReach. And we just make contact with Global Rescue. We give them your policy number. We explain the situation. Sometimes they call the sat phone. They want to talk to the person in question, or it's just handled by message. Usually they're very responsive. Within it can be as soon as within an hour, a heli is already flying. That is really weather dependent. It's been the case where we have to like wait a night and then they come in the morning, but that's pretty much it. If we determine that you are in need of an evacuation, we initiate the call. We make contact with the insurance company, who then sets off another chain of communications with the heli service. We coordinate everything. We send them our coordinates. Boom, you are, on your way back out. It's pretty uncommon that it happens, but it does happen for this or that reason. So yeah, that's the protocol. What other questions do we got? Just one more question here is, yeah, you don't need the security add-on from Global Rescue, just the high altitude evac is enough. And we suggest that you just get it for like the 14 days that we're going to be out there, right? It's a bit cheaper as well than getting like the whole month. So you can kind of look at your itinerary, look at your dates, and you can select the exact dates of when we will be out on the trek. So guys, I think that is it for now. I hope you found this useful. I know that this won't be the last webinar that we do. If you found this helpful, please email us and let us know. I'd love to hear how it all went. But yeah, again, the K2 trek has a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, and you know, it's our job to prepare you the best way that we can for this. So, this was a big kind of a general overview and a rapid fire presentation. But yeah, again, we hope you found this useful, and I really enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for all your questions, and again, we'll be in touch via email. And if you have any other questions, feel free to fire us an email. Let us know how we did. And looking forward to seeing some of you guys in Pakistan this year. All right. So take care, guys. All right. Flood of messages now. All right. Cheers, guys. Yes, we're going to send around a recorded copy. No worries. All good. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Take care.